In the vast majority of cases, so if you look at a lot of the data, single mother households by a wide margin create the incarcerated, teenage pregnancies, teenage gang activity, suicide attempts, poor grades. You can go right down the list. Basically, every negative behavior from a young boy or a girl turning into a man or a woman comes from single mother households. You need to return fathers to the household.
I mean, I'd reject all of those statistics, but I mean, again,
why? Because men would be in a household and that would be a problem for you?
No,
Why is
I
it
don't
that
think-
society and culture and people are so vehemently opposed to men being in the household and being around their children?
No, I actually agree with Richard, and there is data that supports the fact that a lot of negative sociological outcomes come from absent fathers, but I don't think it's because men have been systematically excluded. I think there are a whole range of reasons.
Well, everything with family law systematically removes men from the households, from their children.
Family law is not the only reason why men aren't in the households.
It's one of the biggest reasons.
Men often don't step up to being a father. I mean, in your own channels, you
whose fault is that if she chose him to be the father? She was the one that shared her body and laid with him. Why aren't women taking any responsibility for the men that they have children with?
Well, why aren't men taking responsibility for the children that they have? Why aren't men?
Tom, I can't hear everybody.
Sorry. Carla, you go.
I'm sorry, but I know multiple people who are in really healthy co-parenting situations. In order for a man to be an awesome father and dad and a really good role model does not require him to be located necessarily in the same house.
You're right. And
talking about men like
they can be in separate houses, but the vast majority of men are not around their children when they're growing up, especially after divorce, because women still get custody 80% of the time.
Richard, can I just ask you, do you see women and men as equal?
No, men and women are very different.
So
men and women can be a great complement to each other's life if they allow the natural gender roles to perpetuate, for men and women to get the most out of life, they really have to work together. I'm not about separating the sexes. I think men and women are again, better together than they are apart.
I do agree with Richard in that absent fathers is a contributing factor to a range of negative outcomes, right?
But it's not the woman's fault is what your belief is.
In some cases, perhaps, but not to the extent which I believe Richard is saying it is. I'm curious, because having watched your content, you absolutely advocate against hooking up or marrying a single mother or a mother with a child. And I'm actually married to someone who was a single mother and has a child to a different partner. And it's truly one of the best things that ever happened in my life is becoming a stepfather. And he has a good father who's also in his life, and he's now got 2 male role models. So why are you so opposed to men starting relationships with women who might have children to a former partner, who might have been a shitty guy who just didn't want to step up and take the responsibility?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of conversations that you can have around that topic, but at the end of the day, you run into an extra set of problems and layer of complications when you invite a woman into your life with children from a prior relationship. You're a cuckold when you raise another man's kid.
I don't feel like I'm a cuckold.
Well, you are. You may not like it, but you are. Because you're raising another man's child. That's essentially what a cuckold is.
Well, I don't believe that's correct.
So you talk about these things like the facts when they're constructions. They're constructions that serve an ideology that you hold that we know harm a lot of people.
You seem to be diminishing a lot of men who are stepfathers.
Who are stepping up.
Yeah, that's like...
Hey, look, if you want to step up and raise another man's kid, by all means. But men, generally speaking, are far, far better off raising their own kids with a woman that doesn't bring baggage to the relationship.
What about the reverse? Do you think men who have children to a previous relationship are...
Well, it's an interesting question because, I mean, when you flip the tables, when you put yourselves in the other shoes, women don't like raising other women's children. They really don't like it. And
I raise my stepson. I love his mum and I love being his mum. He's been one of the greatest gifts of my life. And
that's a very rare story. You don't hear that very often.
I don't think
it is.
There's a lot of co-parenting relationships
about
now.
how they hate their stepkids.
Oh, that's so sad. I haven't heard those stories. I know they exist, Richard. I do know they exist, but I don't hear those stories commonly.
Your story is very rare. It's very rare. There's not a lot of women that are willing to raise another woman's kid.
We do have to wrap very soon. I just want to, we all agree, we've heard from you all that you all agree that men are in crisis, and Richard, women are too, you say. How do we feel about how to solve this? What are your thoughts, Richie?
Well, there are lots of different issues within said crisis. How do you help boys and men know that it's not weak to speak about your feelings, that it's all right to seek help, that you're not any less of a man for struggling with your mental well-being, and that it's not unmanly to pursue the need for therapy or counseling or a priest or whatever it might be, because lots of boys and men are suffering and dying by their own hand in silence. How do you help boys and men get education through a range of different methodologies about consent, about healthy relationships, about what is a healthy sexual template that's not from mainstream pornography, which links violence and sex a lot of the time, right? I think education is a great pathway, and long-term cultural change through a range of different levers is really important.
Well, put it this way. What's one thing that society needs to understand?
Put fathers back in the household. Let's stop condemning conventional masculinity. Let's put fathers back in the household. Let's update and modify family law so that it's not hostile towards fathers, and then give these boys exposure to the most important role model in their life, which is their father. That's what they need. They don't need to express their emotions to women more. Women hate it when guys cry to them. They need
we can
a
express our
tribe
emotions
of
to
men. They
each
need
other,
a gang.
bro.
Sorry?
We can express our emotions to each other.
Correct. So put men in rooms with other men that they can have these conversations with, because women aren't interested in hearing men cry about their emotions.
Sounds like the manosphere to me. Kyla, what do we need to do? What do we need to know?
I agree a lot with Richie. I think that we need to invest strongly in primary prevention, which is about building a world and environment, which is probably in stark contrast to the things that Richard Cooper has shared here today on this panel.
And this is why everything's failing for you guys. This is why your country's failing. It's a failed society. It's all a load of nonsense. It's all, let's make men softer. Let's make them more agreeable. Let's build a better beta. The world doesn't need better betas.
I do want to push back on that, man. New Zealand has a very stereotypically masculine environment and has done for a long time, and we have the worst rate of domestic violence in the OECD.
I think let's think about and talk about how we regulate emotions so they don't harm other people. But ultimately, we want to invest in really strong education, regulation,
is build a better
in our primary schools, so that we can treat each other well and ensure that people don't be harmed by some of these just unacceptable attitudes and stereotypes that don't fit for all of us in a super binary, and exclude a huge number of our population as well.
We have to leave it there, but we thank you all so very much for contributing to this conversation. Richie here in the studio, Richard in Toronto, and Kyla in Wellington.
All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the Courses tab. Newer to the channel? Hit subscribe.